I never got to respond to the people, so I'm going to respond now because people were in the comments section was like, I can't believe she changed it. The purpose in life for me is to continue to evolve and grow, not to stay in the same place. Right. As I learn, not applying what I learn, I feel like it lacks integrity. If you understand something is hurting somebody for you doing it and you continue to do it out of ego, you're probably not the best person. So I want to be the best person that I can be. Me being in the spaces as an Afro-Latina was erasing people who were darker than me who continuously get ignored and erased. And I felt that wasn't the best, right? Even though I was trying to create a platform to make way for other people, it still just lacks integrity.
Welcome to Hella Latina, where I hand the mic back to our people, the first gens, the immigrants, the kids of immigrants, those who exist in between two different worlds, because if we don't tell our story, who will? I was reading parts of your book and I was like, okay, Hondurans are out here because we're never represented or never really told in stories. And so the fact that you were mentioning Hondurans.
I have one of my closest friends. Do you know Suwani?
I was just with her. Yeah. She talked about you too.
Yeah, that's my girl.
She is so. We found each other and we were like, oh my God, catrachas in LA.
Las catrachas.
Las catrachas.
And then I have a friend, Sulma, who's in the Bronx. She's a garifuna.
Yeah.
And she's written quite a few books about it. I mean, I'm always around the people who are connected to the roots. I don't want to be around these Castilian bitches. Fuck these hoes.
Not the Castilians.
Yeah, I can't stand a motherfucker to tell me how much Spanish blood they got. Like, it's a claim to fame. Like, shut the fuck up, stupid bitch.
Okay, well, I want to start there.
Okay.
Because I always start this podcast with how do you identify and why. And background, the reason I started this podcast in the first place is because being Honduran, growing up in San Diego, you're around a lot of Mexican Americans, and they were always curious about me. They're like, why do you not eat spicy? Why do you like say vos instead of tú? Why do you do this? Why do you do that? Why are you so tall? Like, there was so many questions. Yeah. And I'm like, am I not Latina? Like, am I not?
Yeah, of course.
You know, like, do I not belong there? Like, it felt like there was such a visible difference between us. And it was always me educating them on like baleadas and we eat plátano and, you know, we like pollo chuco, you know what I mean? And we don't really eat spicy unless it's on the side. And so all that to say, reading your book and like hearing a little bit, and granted I didn't finish it, but listening to parts of it, you describing Miami as this like melting pot, and that's actually where my dad's side of the family lives.
Okay.
I was always jealous of them because I'm like, you're surrounded by Hondurans and like Caribbean food and all the things. But all this to say, I started this podcast because I want to show people that Latinidad doesn't look one way.
Absolutely.
And even the term Latino is like, you know, it could be problematic in its own way.
It's colonized.
And so there's so much to the diaspora and so much flavor and sazon and race. And you talk about all these things too. And that's exactly why I wanted to create the podcast. And I want to tell people and educate our people through stories. And
I love that.
You're doing it already.
I love it.
So I want to start with, how do you identify and why, and whatever that means to you, culturally, ethnically, spiritually, anything.
So I identify as an Afro-Indigenous Boricana. That's where my identity has evolved into. A lot of people get upset with me when I say this now, because there was a time where I was I identified as Afro-Latina, but then I realized the erasure of people darker than me. And then so I spoke about this, and I never got to respond to the people, so I'm going to respond now because people were in the comments section was like, I can't believe she changed it. The purpose in life for me is to continue to evolve and grow, not to stay in the same place. Right. As I learn, not applying what I learn, I feel like it lacks integrity. If you understand something is hurting somebody for you doing it and you continue to do it out of ego, you're probably not the best person. So I want to be the best person that I can be. Me being in the spaces as an Afro-Latina was erasing people who were darker than me who continuously get ignored and erased. And I felt that wasn't the best, right? Even though I was trying to create a platform to make way for other people, it still it just lacks integrity. So I decided that, I have children that are Black, that are darker than me, that identify differently than me, that have a different hair texture, that are seen and perceived and treated differently than me. So in order for me to operate from my higher self, I had to make some changes, contend with myself. But I'm never not going to claim my Blackness or my indigenous blood. So I just made the adjustment, and I'm Afro-Indigenous Boricana. And anybody who has a problem with that can eat a dick. That's where I am now. I'm tired of these bitches trying to tell me who I am.
Because they always try, and it's never enough. And it's never
And when
enough.
I say bitches, I'm being inclusive, which I mean everyone on the gender spectrum.
Right.
Not just talking about women.
But it's real because it's never enough. You don't claim this, you don't claim that, but you also are this, you also are that. And I think identity is one of those things where you get to decide what you want it to be, because you start to get more pieces of your history, and you're like, oh, I do have a lot of indigenous blood. And there's a reason why no one claims indigenous roots, because it was like drilled into us that it was gross and it was savage and it was less than. And so for you to claim that, and even in your book, you're claiming it. You talk about being Taína, and I'm like,
I'm very proud of it. And I'm not white. I'm not going to, just because, that's the other thing, I'm not going to let somebody
You're not going to talk about your 30%?
Oh, yeah, no. I'm not going to let anybody push me into an identity that I don't have any claim to or identify with. So I just decided to just stop listening to the disruptive children in the room when there's so many other children in the class that want to learn. Like as a teacher, they'll tell teachers, not focus on the ones that want to learn. I want to focus on the ones that want to grow and go. And everybody who has a problem with me, they don't have to follow me. They don't have to come to my stuff. I don't need you. I don't want you in my presence. So we good. And I'm happy. I'm not even upset. Like when I say this, it comes from a place of joy.
Yeah.
There's freedom in that.
And right. To choose who you want to spend your energy with.
Absolutely.
Something that I feel like is really interesting as I was reading your story, and maybe because it's just so different than mine, identity was really like visible to you early on. And the identity of Latinidad was really visible to you early on, from your brother to like, el coreano, right? To like being around indigenous, to being around Black, to even being around Cubans that were you know white. How did you reconcile all of those identities? Was it just something you were around? Did you have more questions? Were those questions answered later?
I think it was arriving at a place where I realized that I didn't have to have all the answers, and I didn't have to identify it. I didn't need to take on that labor, because I did for a long time. People have their own wounds, and everyone is entitled to them. And I was telling my friend, but you don't have the right to bleed on me. I have my own, and I'm working through my own. Living in Miami, which is something I don't ever want to do again, was very hard for someone like me, because I was so immersed into my Puerto Rican Boricua culture that when people came around to try to say that we were ghetto or we were less than or we didn't speak correct English or that we were all on welfare, I rebuked that, because I know about my greatness and the greatness that I come from, and that when people would make fun of us because we say ajo, and understanding that the reason we say that is because we're probably one of the Latino cultures that is closest to our indigenous language, and that's why we speak that way, that it's not because we are not smart enough to embrace the Spanish colonial language that they, forced upon us. It's that we have never released or ignored our indigenous native tongue that lives within us. And that's a place of pride for me. So I just had to leave that place, because for me, I think it's cool to know that, we can go out to the backyard and make some tea with some leaves that's going to make us feel better. And that comes from our great-great-great-grandma, as opposed to somebody giving me a pill that's laced with some poison that's going to make me sick and potentially harm one of my organs. The fact that they flipped it on us and got us believing that this is better, right? Or that me having my azabache on is, me being wicked. I had to evolve to the place and grow to the place where understanding that these are all parts of me, and there's nothing that my grandmother gave me with love that could ever mean me any harm. So I just leaned into that. And being around all the different people, like my friends that were from Honduras and Nicaragua, I never looked down on anybody. Even if I heard in the language of, people in Miami saying, esos indios, like, and I'd be like, the glorious people of our past, like the people whose land we're on, like, you guys, you really talking down on that? It's never resonated with me. I've been who I am, and maybe I didn't have the language or the knowledge or the understanding, but that rebel in me has always said, I love this, and I'm gonna always rock with it. And so I've been able to be friends with everybody and be like, girl, you better be proud of your grandma. I love my grandma and her gun, and my grandma and her fire, because it's who I am, and
that's in you.
Yeah, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. As much as they've tried to make us ashamed of the blackness and the indigenous blood, because they got to make us feel. If your deficiency makes you insecure and you have power and you're in the ruling class, of course you're going to try to convince me that there's something wrong with me because I can go out into the sun and not die.
Right.
But
right.
So I just learned that it was a mind, it was a mind screw, and I never wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah. And it's not because you're a Virgo. My dad is a Virgo. But you reminded me of my dad in that way because my dad and the family, they call him El Indio.
Okay, lindo.
Because he is. I mean, like, he's super indigenous. He's shorter, he's darker, he has indigenous hair. My mom's family, they're una mezcladita, son mestizos, right? And they're tall, they're thick, they're like curvy, and they always say like, ¿por qué te quedaste con un indio? To my mom. And my mom is like, ese indito me quiere.
That's right.
And then my dad would be like, ese es 100% catracho. He was
That's right.
so proud of it.
That.
So proud of it. So I would just be like, yeah, that's in me too. All of it is in me. And to carry all that history within me is just part of my experience.
And magic.
And magic.
Yeah.
I want to know, like, why did your mom immigrate over? Do you know that story?
So my mom was born in Puerto Rico, but my grandmother's the one that brought my mom and my uncle over. So my mom and my uncle Carlos, they were born in Puerto Rico, and my grandmother came in the 50s, and she came to the Northeast, where many Puerto Ricans migrated to the Northeast. And it's always economics, and it's always running from abuse and running from, she was really young. She had her kids really young, her first kid when she was 13. And so it was economics. And that's what I make sure that I say when I speak, because I've had people saying, go back to your country. Why are you here? If you've ever been to Puerto Rico or the Dominican Republic or Honduras or El Salvador or Nicaragua or Panama, if you've seen Colombia, how beautiful where we come from, do you think we would leave there if we had to?
You feel me?
It's paradise. Why would I leave my beautiful land?
They're going over there.
100%.
And they're trying to build like their own little inclusive resorts.
Absolutely.
And like kick us out of our own beaches.
Yeah, well, that's what they do. So why would I ever leave the playas of Puerto Rico to come here? Or, like the thing is that and the reason why we leave is because they have meddled in our government so much.
Because they were there.
And they've destabilized our governments and our economy, and we have to leave. But that's the only reason my grandmother would leave. My grandmother worked her entire life because she wanted to go back. She didn't want to stay here. She didn't want to die here. She wanted to die on her land, and she wasn't able to. But she always wanted to go back.
Yeah, she never got to.
All of them, me voy a comprar una casita en el campo, and I'm going home. Like this has never been home.
Has that always been on the back of your mind? Like, you want to go back to Puerto Rico?
Oh yeah, I wanna go back to Puerto Rico and to the Dominican Republic with a group of people, and I want us to re-gentrify our own island with our own people. I want us to buy our land, and I want us to start populating our islands with our people, and slowly but surely just become so economically powerful that they leave.
When I went to Puerto Rico the first time, it kind of broke my heart to see Puerto Ricans live like immigrants in their own land.
In Mexico too, it's really harsh. It's hard to see. It's by design, but I just believe in history repeating itself, and I know that after the darkness there's always light. The dark ages were followed by enlightenment. I mean, a plague has to happen, but it always rids of the people, the diseases, and I'm always going to believe in the best of us.
Oh, 100%. You know, we learn about colonization, but we don't realize it's still happening. It just has a different name.
Absolutely.
You know, when I went to Costa Rica too, Costa Rica is very gentrified. But when I went, they were really proud to tell me, like, you know, you can't own, if you're not Costa Rican, you can't own land in front of the beach. Like, you're only able to purchase property in front of the beach if you're Costa Rican.
That's not true.
But they're like, but they marry the Costa Ricans.
Yeah.
And that's
it's also not true, because I know people who own beachside properties in Costa Rica on the Caribbean side who own property there. That's not true. Especially now with American realtors selling you the property in Costa Rica. I mean, everybody likes to pop their collar on everybody else.
You know.
And what we got to stop the bullshit and start.
We do.
You know.
We do. Because the more I travel through Latin America, the more all of our colonial mindsets is also like playing a part in just our existence. And we don't realize that to get free, we got to get free within ourselves first.
Yeah, we have to decolonize our mind.
The fact that you're proud of your un tío de un tío era español y venía bien alto y blanco y ojos de color. Like, there's always the one uncle they brag about happens to be Spanish descent, and I'm like, are you sure he's even real? Like, was he just buying the property? Like,
I don't have that uncle. All my uncles were like Boricuas. They look like they belong to that island. They don't have to prove their Puerto Ricanness through any DNA, because you could see it on them. You could see the indigenous. You could see the African. But hey, cheers to you if you have that blue-eyed. I mean, I think it's just interesting. We're so focused on race. It's become such a great talking point within our community that we focus on it so much that we're kind of paralyzed and stuck when we could just say Black people are part of our diaspora. They deserve respect and humanity and to be seen. Indigenous people are part of the diaspora. Even the Asian people of Latin America, because we're the one ethnic group that contains all the races. And we just focus so much on quítate tú pa ponerme yo. How do we one up one another? That the colonizer and the oppressor no longer has to do that to us, because we do it to each other now.
How do we unlearn that?
Well, it's education. Education is key, and that's why they come for it. It's information. It's sitting down with your cousins and saying, look at our history. This is the best part of us. These are the best parts of the people that we come from. Did this. They built this. They invented this. They created this. We come from some badass people. It's not just according to colonial America, these are our contributions, but globally, what we've been able to accomplish in the world. But it's always going to be education, because if we don't have education, we don't have a leg to stand on. And I don't mean, Western education where they give you history books and they tell you what they want you to know. It's sitting down and understanding your grandmother's story, your grandmother's grandmother's story, and really developing confidence and pride from the inside out. That knowing that as much as they've tried to get rid of us, we're still here, because that's magic.
All right, y'all, we're going to take a quick break, because support your girl if you want to keep listening to these conversations. I have shirts, Hella Latina, Hella Brown hats, Hella Brown anything that you want, and also have Hella Brown, Hella Worthy candles. 50% of the proceeds go to Chirla, an immigration rights organization. It is magic. And I think the more you learn about your own, I see our parents as like museums into our own history, like growing up in a place where, and this is why I started the podcast too, because you get to sit down with people and like really like understand we're not so much more different than we think, but understanding my parents and why they immigrated in the first place got me to understand the banana fruit company and how they were in Honduras and how it destabilized our country. Even that, I'm like, over bananas?
It's profitable.
You know what I mean? And how it but they still look at it like, oh, they brought a lot of opportunity. But I'm like, no, but they took it.
Yeah, we have to get out of the thinking that we can't do it ourselves, because we 100% can.
How do we instill that in our people?
We show them. We show them through every single one of us that has the opportunity to create something, to craft something, to affect the economy. We have to show them the way Bad Bunny's been showing people. And Bad Bunny's not perfect, and nobody's going to ever be perfect, but the pluses, they'll stack up. So when you see people saying, all right, corporation, you want to be in business with me, this is what you got to do for my people. That's important, right? Like showing people, and everybody doesn't have the opportunities that Bad Bunny has, but there are entrepreneurs that are on a smaller scale, but we have to show our people how the effects of our work, our independent work, has results. And we have to be able to show them, because when that builds morale, and it infects other people with the spirit and the belief that they can do it too, and that's infectious. You know,
it's also like showing our people and also letting them know we can do it together.
Yes, solidarity is important, and it's hard because they've colonized us in a way that they've made us, we flash on each other about flags and music and dancing and styles, we should just be embracing that about one another, because it's all the magic we've been able to create in spite of all the stuff that happened to our ancestors, and I think that makes us beautiful. But I believe in us.
I do too. I do too, and I think we're getting there. I think we're like, there's slow movement, and I think the more that we just continue to do it, it's a chain reaction. The fact that I was at like lunch with Swanee and her husband and Eliana, and they were all speaking about you and Lauren, and I'm like, good people. There's good people in our community that are really trying to find ways to, like, how do we lift one another? How do we uplift, and how do we just like get each other popping?
We got to do it,
because we got to.
Yeah, we don't have a choice. Yeah.
How did you start to find your own history? Through understanding your families, through like your culture? Like, how did you start to really like own this identity of being Afro-Indigenous?
My grandmother. So I had the benefit and the privilege of living with my great grandfather alive, because my mom, my grandmother, also young, having children. I got the privilege of being with Papi, which was what we called the patriarch of our family. And every Sunday we would spend with him, and we would go eat with him, and his wife would cook, and he would play his guitar, his acoustic guitar, and he would sing Wawanko and his Lelo Lai. Like, I grew up with a guinea in the house, them raising it, feeding it so they could kill it and cook it, Lord. I never ate it. New Guinea fowl is what it's called in English. But I just grew up with listening to the stories and the music that Papi would play, and I would listen to them. I sat at the feet of my elders when I was a little kid. I loved my grandmother and my great-grandfather, and I would listen to the things that they would say, because they didn't read and they didn't write, so we had to listen so that we can keep the stories going.
I think they call it chisme. I keep saying this. It's not chisme. It's oral history.
Absolutely.
You know what we're doing right now is archiving a piece of history, a moment in time.
Absolutely.
And that's what our ancestors always did.
Yep.
That's how they preserved all the wisdom.
Yep.
If we stop telling our stories like the colonizers want us to, we lose that.
It's funny though. I love it. We call it bochinche in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
But I just think it's, the connotation is added with the intention and the spirit in which it comes. So if the bochinche can be good or it could be bad, el chisme can be good or it could be bad. If you want to spread that somebody has a business and everybody needs to go support it, that's a good chisme. So I think
more of that.
Letting the outsiders always come in and dictate and tell us we gotta get other people out of our business.
No, truly. You're also, in a way, like reframing Latino men in your book, and I really want people, like, this actually came to me through Eliana. I have to give her all the credit, because she was like, you have to read this. She gave it to me because she knew I was going to interview you. And the way that you talk about men, there's a whole spectrum of men, as in any race, in any culture, in any there's men come in all different forms in perspectives and personalities. And when you talk about Latino men, there's always this like, oh, so machista, and it's a throwaway. And I have seen my father, who is the opposite. Right. I joke with my mom. I was like, you're the machista of the relationship. Yeah. With love. But my dad is like sweet, and he is. I mean, people, anytime they meet him, they just like love him, because he's just like a kind heart person and super religious, super spiritual. And I've also seen men that are not so kind. And my mom literally was in an abusive relationship right before him with a man that wasn't like that. And so the way that you described your tios when you went through each of them, I literally felt like I was like seeing my tios and my brothers in my head. And I'm like, I love that she's showing the full spectrum of a human. because we're human. We're Latinos, yes, but we're humans.
Yeah. My uncles today is my Uncle Richard's birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. My uncles are my heart. Together, I had to figure out the word to describe them because I didn't grow up with my father. My uncles were like a transformer. Like they would together make up this father in my life, and one would show up when the other one couldn't. If I had a graduation, one would be there. When my Uncle Raymond was my father, he was part of my life, my whole life. His birthday's coming up on the 21st of this month. It's, people are complicated and imperfect, but now that we live in an era where everything is about content, it's become, I just think that people who operate on a basic level can live in a world where they can say men are bad, women are victims, all white people are evil, all Latinos are this. Like that's the basic thinking, right? Understanding the reason why Black men behave a certain way, Latino men behave a certain way. When you go back into the oppression and the colonial times, these are all results of all of the stuff that was done on purpose to divide the family, to separate us. Yeah. But my uncles have always been everything that's good to me, and I'm sure they've been everything that's bad to somebody else because they're human beings and they make mistakes. But the way that they showed up for me and continue to show up for me in my life is something that a lot of people don't have, and it's a privilege for me because I have friends, when you say the word uncle, they're like, ooh, that's who touched me when I was a little kid. That's the first person to, SA me or whatever it is. I don't have that experience. What I had was a force field of 5 Puerto Rican men that made me feel untouchable. Like I knew I was protected, and if anybody did something to me, and I remember this kid snatched my chain when I was in school, and he was on a bike, and when he turned around, he ran right into my uncle, and my uncle beat him up and then took his chain and then gave me my chain back. And
plus his chain?
Yeah, he took his chain. No, I didn't take his chain. My uncle took his chain. And I was like, you stole it. You can't do that. Now you like him. And he was like, you got a point. But it's a level of safety that a lot of people didn't have. I never felt scared sleeping in a house with my uncles. I never felt weird sitting on one of their laps because I always felt safe around these men. And I can't ignore that. And that's not to say that they're perfect human beings, but I have to say that they're one of the best parts of my life.
I love that you said that. And you also shared moments of men that weren't positive.
Yep.
How did you start to write that? Because as I was reading that, I'm like, I wonder what it felt like for her to write about the not so positive experiences with a stereotypical man.
So, the interesting thing is that this book, there was a cap of how long the book could be, right? So not even. It was they gave me 80,000 words, but everything couldn't go into the book. So there's so much that didn't go into the book, but it was me chronicling some points of my life. The book is not in linear order, which a lot of people were complaining about. I have ADHD. My brain is fragmented, and the way that we break things up is very differently than someone who's a linear thinker. But the purpose of the book is there are 4 sections, and it was about those moments in my life where I felt like I was in a cocoon, and then when I was in the metamorphosis, and then when I became a butterfly, and then when I was able to take flight. And those didn't happen linearly. Like me to get to the point where I felt like I had arrived started when I was a little kid, but I didn't fully get there. So that's why the stories jump around, because these are the moments where I felt like I was in the cocoon. And that happened when I was 7 as well as when I was 23. So I couldn't write the book chronologically for somebody else's taste, because that's not the way my life works, and I don't think that anybody's is. Everything isn't linear. But to be able to write about my relationship with men was from the time that I was a little girl sitting around waiting for my father to come, thinking he was going to show up one day magically, because I was watching movies and I'm like, he's just going to show up one day, he knows exactly where I am, to the moment where I met him. I had to understand that the reason I had I had these experiences with men is because I was looking for him. And that was trying to fulfill the wound of him not being there in these relationships. And it's not until I met him that I understood that. People could tell you all the time. All the therapists could tell. It doesn't click until it clicks, and it clicks when it's supposed to click for you. And that was what it was for me. That when I finally understood why this relationship happened, like the last relationship that I was in right before I met my father, it was very clear when I met my father why that relationship happened, and it had a lot to do with him not being there. So, I pride myself in being someone who's very transparent and speaks the truth. And if I can speak the truth about others, then I have to be able to do it about myself. And my children are older now, so I made a decision to write the stories and tell my truth, because I believe that there's somebody out there that's going to read it and learn from it, and perhaps, be able to escape some of the pain or some of the hardship. But a lot of that stuff came from the deepest part of me, and I was able and ready to release it. And for me, releasing it is putting it out into the world in an artistic way. And that's all it was for me. It's just art. And for my mom is chisme. My mom is like, you tell our business. And I'm like, I'm telling my business.
Se lava en casa. What are you doing?
Well, that's how a lot of horrible stuff continues to happen.
Exactly. Reading this, I was like, this story needs to be told. As you were saying when you were walking in, like, it's a universal story, but I'm like, but it's yours. And that's what makes it so beautiful. And that's literally how I knew you were a Virgo. All these details, I'm like, I feel like I'm immersed in her story. Like, I feel like I'm there and I'm watching the tios, and I'm watching, like, this Honduran woman when she came up at first, Naomi.
Oh, Ruth.
I was like, was it Ruth or Naomi?
No, her name is Naomi.
Sorry. I was like,
I can't say people's real names, so I forgot that. I know who I was talking about, but that's that neurodivergent brain.
Neurospicy.
Yeah.
Neurospicy.
But yes, Naomi.
Even reading her, I was like, no, not that Honduran. I'm going to skip over her. But the way that you were super meticulous with, like, immersing us into that world, felt like I was reading, like, a modern version of, like, 100 Years of Solitude. How things repeat. And it's up to you to break that cycle. And I feel like you've broken so many.
Thank you.
I hope you give yourself credit for that, too.
I appreciate that. I mean, I'm working on it. I'm still working on it.
Forever.
Yeah, it feels like there's always, we have been, indoctrinated into believing that making it is fame, money, success, that, success looks like this, capitalistic, consumer-driven ideal. And for somebody who struggles with that within this business, for me, which is probably why I struggle with finances sometimes, because I associate being this with being wicked, which is part of the trick of making you believe that having money is bad.
So real.
But all the bad people have a lot of money. It's just understanding that, I work really hard, and my intentions are always to try to push us forward. And at the same time that I'm worthy of winning as well. Like, it doesn't always have to be a movement, because I'm an oldest daughter. And I've been also trained to believe that it's selfish for you to want something just for yourself.
Yeah.
And so I've been working on that and learning that it's okay for me to be successful, for me to pop off and do well. And that creates opportunities for others, just me. I don't have to always go with 10 people, but I've always done that since I was little. And my mom will be like, we're going to the fair. And I'm like, well, can Katarina go? Her mommy doesn't have any money. Ever since I was little. And she was like, girl, I ain't got no money. I can't take two of y'all. Like, you sure you want to go? But then that means you can't get a candy apple. And I'd be like, that's okay if she comes. I don't need that. That's always been me. And I'm learning now that I am enough all by myself. And that has been one of the hardest things for me to. I always feel like a sense of guilt and survivor's remorse when I get something, and I feel like, I got to go help somebody else.
Yeah.
I got to find balance.
Do you still do that now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a power and beauty in that, and there's also, like, the other side of it, of like, are you doing that for you?
Yeah, it's just the idea of always feeling like you have to take care of other people.
Yeah.
And it's being the child of I hate to say immigrants when I'm talking about Puerto Ricans, because Puerto Ricans are U.S. citizens, but so migrants. But my father is an immigrant because my father is Dominican. So just being raised by people that being exposed to stuff that I shouldn't have been exposed to because I was translating so little, going to the doctor, going to the lawyer, going to, knowing all the stuff that's how, ¿qué dijo? Like, ella dijo que el esposo le pegó, like, I'm not supposed to know that at 7, but I'm like, you asked me what happened. Now I got to listen to the lady talk. So it was really hard. It was hard. And carrying the weight of all of that as getting older and understanding that you don't belong to yourself. You belong to this group. And, I last year was the first year where I posted this thing, and it was so weird because I got such mixed reactions by it. But I posted that I belong deeply to myself because it was the first time in my life where I felt like I just belonged to me. And there was sadness with that because I felt like I was leaving other people behind. And does that mean I'm not a good mother or a good daughter or a good sister? And then, but I was just like, enough already, and I'm still working on that.
Because this is so deep and so beautiful because I think a lot of us struggle with it, especially like I'm the youngest of 7.
Okay.
And I'm the youngest daughter, the one that's not married, doesn't have kids. And so naturally the responsibility of my parents who are aging falls on me.
Right. Naturally. I saw like water for chocolate. No.
You feel me? So real. That's such a great show, by the way. But one thing that I feel really guilty about is not taking care of them. They never ask for it. They never do. It's almost like an unspoken rule. There's these unspoken rules in Latin culture, and it's really beautiful. I love doing that for them. I do it out of labor of love, but sometimes I'm like, am I doing it for labor of love, or is it because it's expected of me?
It becomes both. The amazing thing is that sometimes when you think you have to do that, you're also taking your parents' agency from them and saying that they can't take care of themselves because they have each other, right? They're a partnership. That's what happens when you get married. You become this unit. Your kids grow up and leave, and then it's supposed to be about you and them. These ideas that we have to take care of them, created by other people without thinking about how individuals work, because it's like this whole cultural thing. But it's like, my mom recently called me because I helped take care of my mom. And my mom was like, "Ay, Nana, I did this and I just did it by myself." And she was so proud that she was able to make a decision without me and my sister chiming in, or my uncles or my aunt. And I was like, "Oh, she wants to belong deeply to herself." And sometimes we take that away from them when we're like, "We got to take care." You start telling people this, the fact that you got to take care of them is like your elders, and it's so ageist, because our culture is so driven by age now because it's so lucrative to make people feel like they're old so they can buy stuff to try to feel younger. It's just ageist to say, I got to take care of my mom. And my mom is like, I want to meet a new man. Like, I'm ready to date. And I'm like, what? Like, I thought you was supposed to be settling down. And it's just wrong. Because if my daughter did that to me, I'd be like, it's like, who you think you're talking to? But the truth is that we have to allow people their agency. And within our community, we don't have that because we're taught that we have to move as this unit constantly. And yes, we need village and community, but village and community does not work without powerful individuals and individual energy. Because if everybody is the same, then there's no magic. The magic comes when all the different spices, you have had good food. It's, the oregano, the garlic, the pepper, the paprika, and it's not one thing. And so we have to be able to allow people to arrive, and that includes our parents.
And it also, like, speaking to this story, I ended up asking my brothers and sisters, 7 of us, right? I'm like, I need y'all to help.
Yes.
And they said, okay. And I'm like, oh. It wasn't that hard. Yeah,
it's all self-induced.
Self-imposed. It's just like, oh, okay. So I could just ask, and they'd be like, yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Like, it was I'm like, why am I living with this? How many of us live with this like rule? And that was one of the biggest things that I love about you in general.
Thank
is
you.
how much you own your womanhood.
Yeah, I love it.
And your worthiness.
Yeah, I love it.
And reading it, I'm like, I can't believe there was a time where like that was questioned.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I mean, of course we're human, but I'm like, you just are so embodied to me that I, even on stage, seeing your stand-ups, like you're embodied in your power. You're a storyteller through and through.
I really appreciate that. It took a while. You know, being told that I wasn't enough or being reminded that somebody didn't believe I was enough because it served them and what they needed so that they could feel like they were enough. Understanding and unpacking that it really isn't personal. It's just people operating from their wounds. Yeah. And sometimes it can be really heavy. But I've always been okay with me wherever I was. And I think that bothers a lot of people, and I was never able to put words to that because I always felt bad about having qualities, you know, like, and I don't know where that came from. I have an idea, suspicion, but I always felt bad about having magic, about feeling, I felt guilty about it. Like me standing in my truth and my power, making somebody else feel uncomfortable. I could feel it. And instead of letting it be or releasing it, I would take it on as my own. And little by little, that would start dismantling the best parts of me and the things that made me feel the best about myself, because it's that caretaker energy that is thrust upon you when you're young. Yeah. So now I have friends that are mad because, you know, I get picked to do a show on Netflix, or I get paid, and that friends, people, you know, and I had to just let it all go and be okay with my magic and say, you know, I am a force. I am powerful. I am a very empathetic and loving and caring person. I want to show up. And at the same time, the individual that is me has a fire that I cannot extinguish even if I try. And it is okay for me to have that. My leg starts to shake even when I think about it, because I've been made to feel guilty for that because somebody else is dealing with their lows. And so it takes work. And now, you know, now I'm like, I work really hard. Like, why should I feel bad about being able to go on stage and do something that reaches people? Because I worked for it. Yeah. I don't take for granted. I don't slide. I ain't no Nepo baby. And I'm not trying to glide off of somebody else's success. I work really, really hard. And it's people that don't, that got beef with it. And I'm like, why am I even allowing this to even enter my orbit? You should not have access to me. And now you don't. Yeah.
And how did it take a long time for you to get there?
Absolutely.
To like be able to cut somebody out and be like, no, I just don't need that. Or I won't let it enter my consciousness.
No, I've learned to, my daughter is a Cancer. My daughter is, she's a feeler. She's very empathetic. She feels everything. And she's always been the one that has told me, and it's amazing because people that I have been fully enamored with, that I've loved, friends that I've been like, friendships that have lasted long times. My daughter is like, this person is not good for you. Since she was a little baby, she wouldn't let certain people hold her. Like, she's always been una bruja. And I'm so grateful for her, you know, because she's always been able to say, because my son is more cerebral. So for him, he's the thinker and she's the feeler. And they're both, he's highly empathetic and she's highly intelligent. They complement each other. People think a lot of times they'll say, are they twins? And they're not. He's older than she is, but they're so connected. And they both have been like, when they say, yeah, I don't know, I don't think this is good for you. And the other one is like, I don't feel that this person is good for you. But I've learned to listen, because it's like, it's never personal. Like, it's not that the person, some of them are bad and evil and have bad intentions, but there are people that just their chemistry does not align with yours. Yeah. And it doesn't need
their existence, their energetic makeup. It's like something in this choka, like it's not it.
And it shouldn't be framed through good and bad. It's just chemistry. It doesn't work. And then you ever notice you in a relationship with somebody, whether it's romantic or platonic, that you feel like you're always working on something. You're like, it feels like going to the gym. And you're like, you're always working through something with the person, because some people are conflict driven, right? And I know it because I've been conflict driven because I needed a purpose. And I didn't realize that the purpose was greater. So it had to be petty for me. So I was like, I'm always in a fight. Like, this really means something because we fought it out. No. It's not. Magic, the chemistry has to be there. And if there's always this uncomfortable feeling with somebody, they should probably go. And it's okay, because now you can go be great where you need to be, go be great. And if they're not going to be great, now they're out of your way and out of your world, because they don't belong there.
And don't you feel like when that happens, things open up for you?
100%. I had a relationship that's in the book, very toxic relationship. And the person I was seeing, his father told me, your life is not going to take off until you leave my son, because my son is dark, right? There's a darkness to him. And as soon as he was out, everything just opened up for me.
Yeah. And it's like, I think that's the benefit that we don't always talk about, because it's hard. It's hard to go through breakups, friendship breakups, platonic breakups, relationship any type of like disassociation with somebody. It's going to bring pain, grief,
always.
All the things.
You got to go through your stages of grief, and you have to release it, and you have to listen, because you keep going back for more. Like, I kept going back to that guy over and over again until finally he pushed me out of a moving car, and I could have died. And I was like, oh, you're not listening. It had the message will continue to come, and then you gotta listen to the message, because it comes mildly, una bofetada, una garnata, whatever you want to call it. If you don't listen to that one, then viene el puño, right? El puño, the punch in the stomach, and you don't listen to that, you're gonna get tapped with the stick, and then now you're getting pushed out of a moving car. What more do you need to? Why do you? And even telling younger women, being in a relationship with someone that could have caused me my life in so many ways, so reckless. That man could have gave me AIDS. That man could have just got me sick to the degree where I couldn't heal. I could have emotionally, because all illness is rooted in your emotional self. So I was like, oh, I'm not listening. And my spirit guides, the angels, the saints, the witnesses, the ancestors, everyone who conspires for my goodness was like, nena, escúchame, oye, nena. And I wasn't listening. And then I get pushed out of this moving car, and I'm like, oh, Ashe, ya, se acabó.
Se acabó la vaina.
Se acabó la vaina, así mismito.
And then you keep going.
And you keep going, and you say thank you to the person, which is the hardest thing. Thank you, sir. Gratitude. I've learned, you have to go now. I have learned what I needed to learn. Yeah. Your work is done here. We no longer need you. Yeah. And, I tell you, people don't believe me, but people who know me know I would never make this up. I remember understanding my power and calling onto the ancestors and all of the energies that have conspired to protect me and keep me in the light. I just remember one day understanding how to use my mouth, because I was using my mouth against me, betraying myself on a daily basis with what was coming out of my mouth. And I just remember one day saying, saging my house, and el palo santo, that Florida water, the cascarilla, like all of it, right? And saying, I finally it came from the deepest part of me, because I felt something on me that just would not get off. And I said, it's time for you to go now. I said, and I wasn't screaming. I wasn't angry. I said, it is time for you to go now. We are no longer serving each other. I no longer need you. I've learned the lesson. I thank you, but I command that you leave my home now. You can never come here again. You're not allowed in this space. It is time for you to move on. And I swear to you, I heard the door close. And I was like, amen. Me fui, and I took a shower, and I washed my sheets. And I laid in my bed, and for the first time in a long time, I have felt lighter. Like I hadn't, and some of my skeptic friends was like, that's just your imagination. I don't know what it was, because if you live in that world, that how boring must that be for you?
Emotional. Like that's an emotional experience.
Oh, it was
to be able to name it and like command it to leave.
And that's what we have, because we have the power to do that, and we don't know. But it was just being able to say, you gotta go. You can't be here anymore.
I literally am getting so emotional.
And it was painful because I was carrying dead people with me, and they didn't know, they got stuck. And I had to send them on their way. And one of them was my ex-boyfriend's nephew that had passed away, and his mom went to see someone in Miami, and the lady said, "Do you know a woman named Aida in California? Your son is with her." And then I go see this lady, and she goes, you're carrying dead people with you. And if you listen to this Eurocentric, colonial, oppressive doctrine or philosophy that makes us feel like those things are bad and evil, because they always try to make us feel like what is
the gaslight,
right? But I was like, I had crossed that at that point, and I was like, I could feel it go. And now I just, I even when, listen, I was in the presence of someone who doesn't mean me any good recently. And that person refused to look me in my face or speak to me after the last encounter with this person being a positive one, right? And the fact that I use my beef with this person is that I was looking out for them. But you can't look out for somebody and expect them to meet you where you are, because people got to do what they got to do.
In the agency part again.
In their own time, right? But the fact that they stayed away from me was the greatest blessing, because I know they don't mean me no good. Because one of my elders told me that they don't mean me no good. And a spiritual person who I don't know came to me out of nowhere in this other city that I'm in and said, "Hey, there's bad energy here for you. Stay away from the bad energy. You know what the bad energy is." It was the greatest blessing. I just say thank you, because I don't think the person is a bad person. They just don't belong in my algorithm.
In your orbit. I want to actually talk about spirituality, because one of my favorite things that you talked about was religion. And you talked about it in like a few different ways.
Sure.
One, you talked about like going through a really hard experience, and like, or at the beginning, actually before that, you were like, does God not like me? Like, why am I going through this? To like, I'm gonna go on my knees because I just got this weird experience, and I need to like figure out how to talk to God and like heal. To you sitting with a family that was, I think, Jehovah's Witness, and people on the block were like making fun of them, and you're like, actually they're super kind, and actually they're holding space for me, and actually they give me like this like feeling of safety.
Yeah, I don't know where they are, but Alba Lidia, that was the girl, and Felix, and they were Hondureños.
See, I know that was making my heart happy. That's what made it better with the whole other Naomi
situation. They balanced out the other people, but they don't even know how much they meant to me. But religion has always been very interesting, because I've always believed in magic, and they tried to beat it out of me since I was little, right?
Right.
I've always talked to trees since I was little, and in the Bible it says that trees are angels, right? Yes. So I've always just, even knowing some things that were bigger than me, because going to church and seeing some of the things that were happening in church that were not good or didn't feel good to me, I had to survive. And survival for me was tapping into what I felt was real. And what I felt was real was nature, the ocean, the sky. One of my elders told me que yo soy la hija de Yemaya, so I would understand why the ocean is home for me. Anytime I feel bad, even my agent will call me and say, we need to go to the ocean, because I always told her, you go to the ocean and you pray, you wash and you clean off, and you ask the mama water to cleanse you or whatever. And now she's a black woman from Oakland, and she'll say, Aida, we got to go to the ocean, because I'll go para lavarme los pies, a darle la gracia, a darle el respeto, because I've never felt like, even when they used to say it back in church that was of the devil, the occult, I never felt that way. I've always like, so for me, religion is necessary for some people, and for others it's not. I don't need those structures to tell me. And when I mean religion, I'm talking about organized doctrine religion that was, created by men that wanted to control the masses, because they found and colonize people. They found a way to do it. I don't need anybody to tell me that stealing is bad or that murder is bad, or, I don't need anybody to tell me, because I have an internal clock that tells me that. Yeah. But spiritually, it wouldn't feed me because of the way that we were treated. It made me feel uncomfortable. So I've always felt like if I ever want to feel whole, I got to go wash in the ocean, right? I got to go do my las cositas que tengo que hacer, right? I remember my mom having a coconut in the house, and people be like, "Oh, girl, y'all going to hell," and I was like,
over a coconut.
But I would be like, "But we poor, we in the hood," and I'm like, What do you think hell is? Like, where you think we at right now? We on WIC and food stamps. Like, somebody just got shot on the corner. You think it's gonna get worse? What kind of God do you believe in? The God that you believe in is awful. Like, the God that you believe in is awful. The God that you believe in is part of all of this. We are worthy of punishment. We are constantly being condemned. We're gonna burn in hell. That is not. You made God in your image. That's you keep saying God made us in his image. Well, why is God racist, sexist, abusive, hellfire, angry? That is, you wrote God in your image. My God is too powerful to be petty. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have time for that. So I got out of that because I was like, I don't feel good when I leave here.
It's too powerful to be petty. That's staying with me.
Yeah, because that's what, when you listen to these nationalists, listen to what they're saying.
Oh, girl.
Listen to what they're saying. Every single one of us is of sin, if you want to call it, because it's just human error, the human condition. We are all just reacting to a world that hates us sometimes. You're going to tell me that God wants me to suffer like that, and then you want me to be like, yeah, here's my money, here's my soul, here's everything, and I'm gonna just keep suffering for you. That's a hustle, bro, and I don't participate in the hustle. And I've been told I'm gonna go to hell, so welcome. You, if you think you're gonna tell me I'm gonna go to hell, I'm gonna burn in hell.
She said welcome.
I grew up in the inner city. Yeah, I've been to hell. I walked through it and I survived it. How dare you?
You saw it develop around you.
Absolutely.
And that's why everyone should get your book. Because, yes, you talk about it. There's a funny thing that I read. Not funny, but like funny. There was a thing I read months ago where it was like this. There's two stories. One is in Lindito de Honduras. These Americans came, or these Europeans came and gave them a Bible, told them to close their eyes and pray. And then they like woke up from their prayer and their land was gone and they had a Bible in their hand. And that story, I say it's funny because it's a really simple way to put what happened. There's, I mean, this religion is tied to colonial rule. I'm not saying that the religion itself is colonial, but the men used it to colonize and to take over land and told us, that suffering is normal. You're going to keep suffering, but I'm going to keep taking your land.
And your money and your children and your wives.
And all the things to leave black and brown men como están. And I'm not to say that's the only reason, but there's a history there. Of course. To understand the why is to understand the present.
And to tell you with your little rock in your hand that that's of the devil and that's of the darkness.
Do you see what I mean? Yeah. To tell our own people son brujas. Yeah. Because women, God forbid, women know. Women know how to heal.
Of course, but brujas, that's a beautiful word. And the idea that people have been, they've been... what's happening to them is that they're being driven by fear. And when you drive people by fear, you can get them to believe anything. Because I'm always like, if you're going to talk to me about the Bible, do you know how to read Aramaic? I need you to know the original language it was written in. Can you read Aramaic?
Right.
Just get out my face.
Get out my face. You know what's, and one thing I loved about you sitting with that Honduran family is because you were with a different religion. And everyone in the block is talking about, ay, no, son bien raros, no sé qué, no sé el otro.
Beautiful people.
I feel like the most beautiful experience I gave myself was to experience other religions and to read on other religions and to be in other countries where they had different religions. And I'm like, bro, this is beautiful. It's
beautiful. It's interesting how people focus on some parts of the Bible and not the others. There's a lot of affirmations in the Bible. The Proverbs is nothing but affirmations. Like, commit your works to the Lord and your thoughts will be established. It's amazing. The work of the diligent leads surely to plenty. Like the Psalms are very, they're just affirmations. but you want to focus on who's gay. You want to focus on who had sex before they got married. You want to focus on women and all, but you don't focus on the stuff that you should be focusing on to make your life better. Because I think innately the job of a true Christian is to walk in a way that's worthy of the calling, right? That I understand the Bible. I grew up in the religion. It's to be so impeccable in your behavior that other people want to emulate it so that they can become it too. That is what you're supposed to do. That's how you drive people to your religion, not criticizing, judging, condemning. It's by being so you meet those people before. Like I know some good Christians. I know some good Muslims. I've seen some people and I'm like, oh man, they got this light around them. They're just so kind and magical. That is what your job is. Your job is not to go around firing strays off into the world and making people. It's just constant, and it's because you feel a hole within yourself. It's easier to point out somebody else's wrongdoings because you don't have to focus on your own. You know.
And finding God, it's so funny. I talk about this all the time. Like I grew up in Christian churches my whole entire life too. And then I started to become friends with Muslims and started to become friends with like other people, Jehovah's Witness. And I'm like, oh, I think we're talking about the same God. Like I think we are. And it wasn't until I left the church that I actually found God.
That's right.
Because when I was in church, girl, I did this to my hair one time in church. They're like, you're trying to get attention from boys. You are sinning. Te vamos a poner en disciplina. Disciplina por hacer esto con mi pelo. I still do it now. But things like that. And a little girl, I'm 12 years old. And to say that to a 12-year-old, that's just literally flipping her hair.
Yeah, and that was somebody who was insecure about the men that they're around, and you might get the attention. And
but
that's weird.
That internalized feeling of like God is just judging me all the time.
That's weird.
God is just judging every single part of me. I can't wear these jeans because they show my body, so I have to wear those jeans. I can't flip my hair because they're gonna think I want boys. Like there's so many rules, and I didn't even know who I was doing the rules for. Yeah, like, is this what God wants? And it wasn't until I left where I'm like, my God is too powerful to be petty.
Yeah, there you go. That's also putting the onus.
That's gonna be the title of the episode.
It's true. It's like so much onus is put on young women and little girls for men's bad behavior. It's like my mom would be like, my mom couldn't stand when I wear a wife beater, and she would always say to me, my husband is here, and I'm like, well, tell your husband to keep his eyes to himself because it's hot. I didn't wear this for him. I don't want Alex. Like you what? Right. But it was just that onus. But that's what she was. That's how she was brought up. So that's the shame that we carry for people's bad behavior, and I'm not doing that anymore.
Period. And the spirituality is all in one. The fact that you were talking to trees, like
I love my trees.
She's like,
I still talk to the trees. And do you see the videos when you talk to the trees, how they start leaning into you?
Yeah. Do you feel like they're doing that?
Absolutely.
No, she's like, no, they are doing that.
No, they do lean into you.
They actually do.
They actually lean into you.
Because I actually love trees.
Yeah, go talk to a tree. You'll see they're listening. They're living creatures. They're alive.
They are. But even that, right, is like so condemned in every single godly person. Yeah. If you want to call it that. And I just like, sometimes I look at the earth and I'm like, God created this too, though. He created these beautiful ass mountains, the sunset. Like every time I look at the sunset, which is my favorite, I'm like, God is an artist.
Absolutely.
God is a literal artist. And how dare we think that loving this is like evil.
Absolutely. That's craziness. And that comes from psychosis. And I reject that on every front. And I'm going to go to the ocean every chance that I get and talk to my mama.
Yeah, I love that. How did comedy find you?
Comedy found me through friends, people that I knew who were in the comedy world. Chris Spencer saw me. We did a roast for a friend's birthday, and he was like, you're a stand-up comedian, and I think you should try it. And he was like, just go do this open mic. He gave me the address, and he said, if you don't like it, you don't like it. Just try it. And if you like it, then you like it. And I did, and I never stopped.
Wow. Did it become an outlet for you?
Yeah. At the time, it was just a hobby because I had, I was dealing with a lot of issues in my life at the time. The breakup, being unhoused, having children, just going through this stuff. And then comedy was just like, I'm just going to do it. I can't go to therapy, and I was doing it. And then it led to something else, and it just kept just kept going back, and I was like, I have to figure out how to do this. I want to learn. I want to respect the craft. I want to learn how to. I was an actress, but I was comedy is a different beast, and I don't ever take the craft, any craft, for granted. Like I don't ever think because I have a good night at karaoke that I'm recording an album the next day. You know, like that's like honestly. And I went to the studio.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
It's got to change, but it's called "Blame It on Your Heart" by Patti Loveless. It's a country song, but it was like the words were so perfect about the person I was with. And
so there's emotion in it.
It was a
performance.
Yeah. But I gotta find a new song. Like I need a joyful song. But that was my go-to song. But yeah, so I just started and I never stopped.
Wow. How have you navigated this industry, being a woman, being Latina?
I don't navigate this industry. That's none of my business. My business is with the Creator and the Most High and doing what I'm supposed to do. And that's none of my business. How it happens is none of my business. I tried to control it. I was so concerned with this one and that one and what this is doing and who's not doing this and who's not that. Sometimes I'll fall back into that and I have to remind myself, but I don't. It's none of my business. How I get there is none of my business. I just know I'm going because they said so, and I'm listening to them now and not them. So I don't navigate the business. There is no navigating this business. There's no rule book. There's no guide. There's no trick. There's no formula. You see one person made it because they did a video on YouTube. It blew up and now they're a star. Somebody was in a bank and an agent saw them and said, you belong in movies. You don't know how it's going to happen. So trying to control it is just a waste of energy and time that could be dedicated to the craft and the art. So I am no longer interested in trying to navigate this business.
I love that answer. I recently had a live podcast where we talked about how do you preserve art and the sacredness of art, and art is everything. Everything from what we're sitting on to comedy to storytelling to writing. I was curious on how do you preserve like your art in a capitalist society where we still got to pay bills. The check still comes, like we still got to just survive, and not go back to how a lot of us grew up. And we still have to keep our art sacred because if we don't, it becomes propaganda for the system. How did you reconcile those two things?
So it's always, for me, it's just an intention. Like I storybook my specials. Like when I'm doing comedy, I have like sketchbooks. I have a binder for every special, and it has like the pictures of what I'm wearing, and the jokes, the transcripts of the jokes, where I'm shooting, how that looks. When I shot my HBO special, I shot it in the Banknote Building in the Bronx in New York. That's where my mom used to get food stamps when I was little. I didn't go to like a fancy venue. I went to the building where my mom got the food stamps. We set up in a corner and we shot a special, and Fat Joe was in the audience, and Angela Yee was in the audience, and Remy Ma was in the audience, and my family was there, and all these people were there. And there was a hurricane in the background because there was the Hurricane Henry in the Bronx. It was the most rainfall ever in New York. So it was just very water, like me doing my special and water. It was a hurricane. And the following week, it was because that was Henry, and they go in alphabetical order. The following week was Hurricane Aida, and I was in New York, so it was like all this water falling, the most water ever in the history of New York, in the food stamp building where my mom used to get the food stamps when I was on the concourse in the Bronx when I was a little girl, and I was like, I just had to really I've always just been like, this right here is special. And if you start listening to all of that, it starts chipping away at the pureness, the purity of what you're trying to. Una ofrenda is an offering, right? And for me, that's what it is. And I believe that good art always endures. It always lives through. We still looking at Basquiat's and saying this is magic, right? So we gotta believe. People still say Richard Pryor is one of their favorite comedians. It doesn't stop. Because he's gone. Look at the Michael Jackson frenzy. 17 years he graduated from this life, and he is the #1 streaming artist in the world right now. So you just gotta hold on to what is real. And I think people appreciate what people appreciate the art that is given to you with the best intention from the artist.
Yeah.
So, because whenever you try to hustle the game, like you see these people, I'm gonna do a video, it'll go viral, but then it's over. Then nobody remembers you because that's not art, right? That's McDonald's.
Right.
That's not a home cook. That's not sancocho. That's McDonald's.
That's McDonald's.
That's not that guayando, la yautilla, that is not that. That's different.
Yeah.
And so you just gotta, it's always the purest of intention. When Kobe Bryant said, "You asked for my hustle and I gave you my heart," I used to cry. Like I used to think about that because I was like, that's art. I'm giving you, basketball is artistic, it's beautiful, it's poetic, but it's like, sure, the money, the rings and all of that, but it was all that heart that he put in there that made him rise to that place that people were like, this is special, right? Because it came from here. The intention was like, I want to give you this. I am an expression of God in this way, and this is the best of me. Let me show you. Let me show you what God wants you to see. I want you to be inspired when I move. Yeah. And so for me, that's always been what it is. And I feel like my art has suffered when I've allowed the voices in. So now I'm at another place where I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I'm good. I don't need your notes. I'm good.
I see what I mean by embodied. Like you are just so embodied, and I know that takes work and it takes practice every single day, and intention every single day. Every day. And I'm like smiling you being here because I just want everyone that's listening to be inspired by just listening to their self, listening to God. And here's the thing that I think, now that we're on this spiritual topic, I feel like we're really just all souls in a world that doesn't always like us, right? In a world that rejects us, in a world that's trying to control us. And our job is to always come back to self.
Absolutely.
I be seeing my nephews and my nieces, and I'm like, they're just so pure.
Absolutely.
So pure. And like, how can I, as a tia, even though I'm not there all the time, how can I preserve that pureness and encourage them to lean into that pureness? Because I wish I would have had someone do that to me
all the time. I have an 8-year-old niece, my Virgo niece, who my sister was like, I went and made another one of you. She's an artist. She loves to paint, but she loves to dance, and she's been dancing since she was a baby. And I remember being little and loving to dance and being shut down because men were around. Like, no, what do you want? Why are you moving your hips? Like, why are you doing this? You know that. And we don't do that with my niece. When she dances, we like, go ahead, let's go. Anywhere we go, I'll be like, Emma, dance with me, and she will dance with me. So sweet. And my daughter is like, we can never allow her to ever feel bad about dancing. We gotta always encourage her that she could dance anywhere, because that's part of her magic. That's how she expresses. That's how she expresses her light. And so for me, I don't want to see anybody else, somebody's light being dimmed. You know, it doesn't make me happy. Even people I don't like or that don't work with me, that my energies don't work, people who've done awful things to me, I still don't even wish bad upon them. I never sat down and been like, I hope that, you know, only people who've done like horrible things to children that I'm like, I hope they cut their penis off.
Girl,
you know,
same. Like +1.
That, you know, but when it comes to just people that I fell out with or I don't talk to anymore, anybody asks me, hey, what do you think about this person? If I really think they're great, I'm going to say they're absolutely great.
Right.
You should hire them. They work really hard. They're very talented. Because it doesn't feed me in any way to say, you'll never work on my behalf. You know, I don't get anything out of that. Right. I don't.
So where you are right now in your life, where do you see, what are you creating? What's your art moving forward? Is it more comedy? Do we get more of this? What do we get?
So I'm working on another book right now.
Please, let me just tell you, this is so good.
Thank you.
I haven't even finished it, and I literally lost track of time because I got hooked on it, and I was like, oh my God, I'm running late.
I appreciate that.
Like, the storytelling is so, and sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I appreciate it.
I just feel like it's so
Please
good.
Give me
literally getting like emotional.
I didn't get a lot of love on my book,
but it's like, I mean, even just the beginning, you know, when you like see a movie and the title comes out in the movie and you're like, the title. I felt like that as you were talking about when you found out what bastard meant, and they're like, oh, and she wrote legitimate kid because you legitimate.
Oh, we all are, and we don't need anybody to validate us. No structures, no laws. Legitimacy was created legally, and that's not why do you need a government that is based on the backs of slaves to tell you that you're legitimate? Like, how does that make sense? Why don't you consider the source? Who are you to tell me? You are on stolen land. How dare you tell me that I'm legitimate and I am a direct descendant of these great people? No, that's not happening.
Literally, you're worthy just simply because God put you on this earth.
100%. You are an expression of the Most High, and that is unique. There's nobody like you. You get to come here and do something special. And just focus on that instead of focusing on other people. The wounds, work on them. You know, we all got them. Put the work into, how do I heal this with me? You know, I remember, like, I would be like, people used to be like, she's so difficult, my friends. And I was like, I'm not difficult. I get along with so many people that, you know, even in comedy, like, people will be like, she's always so kind or loving. And there are some people who don't like me, and that's okay. But I used to always be like, how do I make them fans? Why do I need to make somebody a fan? But then I had to investigate within myself. You know, like, if somebody would walk in the room and I'd be like, yeah, I don't like her. And then I would be like, at first it was like, oh, I have intuition. I have to this, I have that. But then I had to arrive at a place where I was like, oh, you're jealous. And it's okay to be jealous. But why are you jealous? You are enough. Because I learned that from the women in my family. Because they would be like,
jealous of you.
We don't trust women. Las mujeres no, yo no confío en las mujeres. And I'm like, wow, what a horrible rhetoric to run with when women give life, maintain a village. You know how dope it is to have a community of women that you can rely on.
It's everything.
It's everything.
So healing.
Las tias, right? I raised my children with a group of other single mothers, and our children had like this cabal of women that loved them. I got them. I'll pick them up. Why would I do that? But I had to investigate that within myself. From hearing the rhetoric of people saying, you're getting older, you gained weight, this is cute, you're not cute because you're not white, you're not cute. All of that stuff, if you don't work on it, it will take you down. So being able to say, okay, why don't you like this person? Yeah. What is it about this person? I feel jealous. I feel insecure. This person has a light and I can't see mine right now. Yeah. So I need to just check in with myself. Sometimes I need some soothing because I'm feeling low. It has nothing to do with this person. I remember being in the presence of a woman last week who came and spoke to everybody around me and didn't speak to me. And she spoke to Swanee and I was like, oh, I was like, don't bring her around me anymore. Yeah. Like, that energy was weird. Later on, to find out that she was nervous to speak to me because she was a fan of mine and I was a celebrity to her. But because in that moment, I couldn't possibly think that I could be something like that, even though I had no clue. Like, I'm just like, you got manners, you speak to everybody. But I don't ever think that people see me like that. And then I have people come up to me and start crying and say, you don't know what you mean to me. They shake, they cry. And in my head, because I don't feel like I'm enough, I can't comprehend why someone would feel that way about me. Yeah. And so I had to start checking in with myself and saying, this has nothing to do with this person. What is it about you that is going to little me and saying you are enough? You are okay. You are special. You are loved. You bring light, and it's okay because light is a combination of light. It isn't just individual light, it's just a combination of rays.
And it illuminates, girl. It gets bigger and bigger. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt what you were going to say. What's next for Aida in the season?
So in the season, I'm focusing on my acting. I have a movie coming out called Hurricane Seasons, where it was the first time I had a starring role in a film that wasn't my own project. And and I got to work with some really good actors.
He's like, yeah, clock it. Yeah. We're trying to figure out if it's this or this. We don't know.
No, I don't know. I don't even pretend. I don't pretend.
That's amazing.
But it was in Puerto Rico. We got to shoot in Puerto Rico.
Beautiful.
We were there for 6 weeks, and then we shot in New York. And we explored the relationships between the islanders and the people that are stateside, and a family dynamic. And it's this beautiful family where my brother is Elvis Nolasco and my sister is Justina Machado. And it's like the spectrum of what we look like, because our families are like, El Jabao, El Moreno, like all that crazy colonial talk. But tiene El Jabao with the pecas and all that crazy stuff. But it was really fun because I got to work with people that I have a lot of respect for, and they were really, and Alicia Pascual Peña was my daughter in the movie. So I was really humbled to be on a journey. Carlos Ponce is in the movie.
Amazing.
With all these people that were like, showed up for me and say, let's do it. Let's help you get where you need to go.
Yeah.
So I'm working on a new special that I want to shoot at the end of the year. And, I have a film now that I just shot, a short film that just got into La Leaf, which I'm excited about, with Elvis Nolasco. And just creating, just continuously to create.
And telling our stories too.
All of it is storytelling.
Yeah, all of it. I mean, you're a storyteller through and through, but I love how you do tell our stories, because more of that, less of the narco stuff. I'm tired of it.
Girl.
I'm tired.
We are fighting for it as we speak.
And you're doing it though.
Thank
you're doing it, and you're putting this different lens on what it means to just be in the Latin culture. And
I appreciate that a lot.
More of that.
I really appreciate that. I get embraced a lot by younger millennials and the Gen Z kids. Gen Z people. They're not kids. That's condescending. But I really appreciate the fact that they see me, because I've always been a guerrera, and I got here ahead of my time. So I was around a bunch of people that had a lot of different ways, and I've always been like, nah, I think women are powerful. I don't believe I don't believe white people are better than us. Like, I've always been like, this has been my thing. I'm like, I've always thought I was such a supremacist when I was a kid, because I would always be like, we are better than them, like, because that was what I had to tell myself to survive in this world that was constantly telling me that I'm less than. But I was like, but we're people of the sun. Like, we go in the sun and we glisten, like we don't die.
We don't die.
But
the sun is ours.
Yeah.
And we are theirs.
Yeah. And so that's beautiful. So for me, it's always just been about being able to lead the charge, and for us to keep going, because we're not all the same.
Yeah.
And that's what makes us special.
That's what makes us beautiful. Beautiful and special, and just like, who doesn't want to be a part of that?
Yeah. And I have a podcast too that I never talk about because I always forget. It's called Say What You Mean. And it's a podcast where people come on and talk about the moments they wish they would have said something that they didn't, and they get to say it at the podcast. And it's been interesting. We're on season 4, and we've had celebrities, entertainers, comedians, even people in politics. It's so funny, like, to hear people say things they wish they would have said, and they make you laugh. Some people cry. It's just really interesting to hear.
Yeah. You're like full body storyteller.
Yeah.
In every way, shape, and form.
Yeah. I know when I was here the last time on planet Earth, I was definitely, even if this lady told me I was a cow in another life, like, she said you were, no, she said you were a bull. She said, and they used to hit you in the head a lot. That's why you get headaches. And I was like, whatever I was doing, I was hurting the people for the revolution. I like, we were not going to be beef that day.
A revolutionary. You remind me of like a lighthouse though. Like, and you say you were ahead of your time and that we appreciate you. And it's because I think you're the lighthouse that's showing us like there's light in this world. Just gotta go find it.
I appreciate it because I love y'all. I don't, I get around sometimes people that are older than me even, and there's like this threat from the younger generation, and I'm like, this is a village. We all belong together. They learn from us. We learn from them. Like, it's part of the. I don't mean. I've been cute my whole life, so I'm not worried about somebody who's 20 because I'm in my group now, but. This whole thing about just feeling like when a young, beautiful woman walks in the room, or smart, if feeling threatened by that, is such a sadness because it is an extension of you, and we are, like, I don't know. We
need to reframe that because women, it just makes me feel like women are beautiful.
Yeah.
Like,
all of us.
It makes me appreciate just women in all ages and all races. I'm like, women are just so fire.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
I just think we need to embrace, because all of it is just part of the game. So this idea that the Gen Z people, all of it is just if that fight is happening, men and women are fighting, Latinos and Black people are fighting, then they don't have anything to worry about.
It's all a construct.
Because we're like this.
Them.
And we stay in this perpetual state of conflict, then they don't really have to do much. They can just keep getting rich.
Yeah. And hell no, we're not going to do that. Let's recolonize.
I know.
Our lands, our people, our language, all the things.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
I want
to end with one question I ask everyone.
Sure.
What do you want to manifest for our comunidad, for our people?
Solidarity. True solidarity, non-threatening, loving solidarity. I think that there's no way through without solidarity.
There really isn't. And what's the way we can do it?
Education, information, and love. It may sound corny and cliche, but embrace somebody with love and see how they react, because sometimes that's the only love they're getting, and you don't ever know what somebody. And I learned that through my comedy. Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, somebody's sitting in the audience and they don't laugh. I was doing a show at the Improv, and this lady comes up to me after the show, and I thought she was gonna try to beat me up or something, because she was Mexican, and I had made a joke that had included Mexicans, and she goes, "Aida, I need to talk to you." So at the Hollywood Improv, and she goes, "I just want you to know that this is the first time I laughed in a long time." She goes, "My son hung himself 2 weeks ago in my backyard, and this is the first time." And she said, "I will love you forever." And I hugged that woman and I cried with her. And the whole time I was like, what's wrong with her? Why is she looking all bitter? Why is she looking all angry? Her baby boy had taken his life. And I'm sitting there making all these assumptions about her. And I did not know the amount of pain that she was in. Yeah. And it just gave me perspective to not beat up on the audience, because you don't ever know what's why that person is there. And then I had another person, and I know we're ending. A young comedian, a young photographer who came to my show, and he told me that night he was going to take his life. And he said, and I didn't. And when I met his mother a few years later, his mother thanked me, and she said, "Gracias, que mi niño estaba muy mal." And so you just never know. That's why you got to use your powers for good and not evil.
You really do, girl. Got me emotional. I knew it was a bad idea to do this podcast on my period. I'm like extra emotional. Thank you. Thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm a reflection of you. I appreciate you.
And I am of you. We can keep going back and forth.
Absolutely.
And me of you. Thank you. Thank you for being on this podcast.
This is great. This was a really good conversation.
Thank y'all so much for listening to this podcast, for loving on this podcast. If you're vibing with it, share it with a friend, comment below, or DM me. Let me know how you're feeling, and listen to previous episodes. And if you want to stay tuned on all things Hella Latina, follow us, subscribe, all the things. The links are in the show notes.